Awesome.
Let's get to your one big thing.
um, so, Lucian, did you know that in Saudi Arabia and significant other parts of the Muslim world, including parts of East Asia and Eastern Europe that were under the Ottoman Empire, used what is called or was called a sunset timing system? Since you always get quizzed on these, it's like did you know?
Yeah, it's supposed to be
Um,
your one big thing, not quiz,
yeah,
Lucian.
sorry,
No, it's
sorry.
okay. It's okay.
No, the reason I like this because I actually wanted to ask Prince Turki Al Faisal when he was on the show about his father, King Faisal, and we'll come to that. So anyway, so this sunset timing system meant that it would mean that every day at sunset, official clocks would strike 12, and that time would be the start of a new day. So whenever people heard the call for the sunset prayer in Saudi Arabia and elsewhere, and in Muslim communities, people would immediately set their watches at 12, whatever time the sunset was. All right. So this is fascinating in and of itself. But imagine if you were a foreigner, for example, trying to do business in Jeddah, and you're let's say you're in shipping or logistics or anything that has to do with a schedule. I mean, you really it makes it extremely difficult because even getting a reliable time for a meeting in 2 weeks would be a challenge. So this was the habit of the day and how people kept time. And it wasn't until 1964 that King Faisal decreed that the kingdom would move to universal timing, the timing we know of today, 24 hours, not set by any kind of sunset or anything like that. And so, of course, there was pushback, but he basically said, "Look, Saudi radio, you're the first governmental body. You go out and you put this in practice, and everything on your schedule is going to be universal timing." And eventually, it became accepted practice, which obviously made doing business in Saudi Arabia a lot easier if you're, even a local firm, but also a foreign firm. So roughly 50 years later, in 2013, for the same reasoning, Saudi Arabia changed its weekend from Thursday and Friday to Friday and Saturday so it could better align with global schedules. Again, primarily to facilitate business. All right. So purpose of that background is it brings us to this week when the Saudi cabinet approved just on Sunday the use of the Gregorian calendar for all official dealings. We have done a segment on the show of the Hijri calendar and how it's difficult to balance that, especially if you're a Muslim. But in the kingdom traditionally has prioritized the Hijri calendar over the Gregorian. Gregorian was a secondary measure, for official and political and governmental, things. So in response, Dr. Osama Al-Obeidi, who's a professor of law at the Institute of Public Administration in Riyadh, said the decision was a good move for business. Quote, the Saudi Council of Ministers' decision to adopt the Gregorian calendar in all official dealings, procedures, regulations, and transactions is a welcome move since all other countries use this calendar in all their laws, transactions, and procedures. He goes on, the move would, quote, make it easier for foreigners visiting Saudi Arabia, doing business in the kingdom, and give them the ability to rely on one single calendar, not two, as was the case before, which caused a level of confusion and discrepancy. Also, Saudis, he continues, will have it easier now when dealing with foreign partners, unquote. So this is a shorty. I chose this one big thing for a couple of reasons. First, this latest step is consistent with efforts to smooth the way for increased business. I mean, trying to make it easier for companies to come to Saudi and to succeed in Saudi. Second, and they seem like obvious, even small things, but they really aren't. Ending the sunset timing system is 64, a tradition going back generations. Changes the Thursday, Friday weekend in 2013. Or switching this Hijri calendar to a Gregorian calendar, they all represent change and they all represent adjustment on the part of the Saudis and Saudi Arabia. And in terms of business and investment, it's a good change. So I wanted to do one big thing on sort of try and string together a pattern over now, decades of trying to smooth out obstacles, trying to eliminate challenges to just coming to Saudi and doing business successfully. So kudos to the Council of Ministers for making this decision.
trying to do that and trying to do it in a patient, strategic way and not just all at once. It's that, throwing things into confusion, doing it with a good tempo so that things can adjust accordingly. I didn't hear you say it, and I just may have missed it. But this is everything except Islamic Shariah laws, right? Okay, yeah. Just wanted to make sure. Yeah, so court rulings that are done with Islamic Shariah will be done in the Hijri still. But yeah, I mean, Richard, that is a good one. And every quote in this Arab News article about this change is from somebody in, financial sector, banking sector saying this is a good move. we like this. It'll make it easier for us to do business with foreign partners and vice versa. So I don't have a big response. I just think that's really good.
Yeah, you make a good point too. Everything they're trying to do, they're trying to make sure it doesn't destabilize, make sure it's authentic and organic. The change to the changed weekend that came in 2013 was debated for a long time. And the Bahrain and the UAE had all done it. Saudi Arabia, sort of typically was a little more cautious, a little more, moved a little more, just a little more cautiously, and it came, but things move a lot faster now. But yes, they try and do all this without too much disruption, with trying to telegraph a little bit what they're doing. But it's going to be helpful. Going to be helpful. Can you imagine trying to do business and by the sunset timing system? I mean, and of course it'd be like if you're communicating with, let's say you have a logistics partner in the port of Jeddah, it's by mail or telegraph or whatever. So there's a delay. There's a float time. So if you're going to be, I'm going to be on the Red Sea in Jeddah in 3 weeks. Let's meet at such a, well, how do you, what? There's no common time.
How do you coordinate that at all? Yeah. I mean,
no. So efficiency is shot.
Yeah, my preference is just for us to choose one for all humans, and we all just use the same one, whatever it is. Even if it's the day beginning of the sunset thing, that's fine. But we have to be on the same page.
So you're good with the metric system?
I am good with the metric system. I think it stinks that the United States is just purposefully stubborn about this and will not change. And I don't understand that. I don't understand daylight savings time either. But if we're all doing it, we're doing it. We're in it together.
Yeah, we're gonna get. Well, actually, we fall back this weekend, so at least we get the upside of daylight savings time, which is kind of weird in and of itself.
Yeah. So it gets darker all of a sudden, right? That's the fallback. Yeah.
Well. And by that time, early November, it's already dark in the morning. I wake up at 7. You probably wake up earlier with the kids. So I'm and it's dark. So now it just means it's going to be dark longer.
Yeah, it's really strange. And Saudi Arabia isn't, to be clear, fully on the weekend schedule of the West. They still have Friday, Saturday as their weekend days. There is talk of making it Saturday and Sunday to align. Maybe that's next, maybe not, who knows? But if they were to do that in a year or a few months or a few years, then it would follow the pattern that we were just talking about, where you're doing things patiently so that you roll them out well, and these changes don't happen all at once. So yeah, very cool. So this is definitely one of those stories that is enormously impactful for business relations and investment that just probably didn't make the top level front page, but it is huge.